I'm that girl who, with the help of a level 3 QHHT practitioner, discovered that those children who are born with cesareans while their mothers have not naturally gone into labor, they are disconnected from their teams, from their spiritual teams. I was horrified to discover this wasn't just impacting a few people. In fact, this has impacted many people. Ugh. As a mother, as a human being, as someone who deeply cares about humanity, to discover another agenda, to discover more disempowerment for humanity, got me very triggered. And so while I love more than most in anything is to see things from the bigger perspective, trusting all is well and all is okay, we have to also be honest and be able to acknowledge and work really hard towards using our free will and using these sessions in the best way possible to be able to reconnect and stop the disconnections. And so through working and having conversations with a level 3 practitioner who discovered her client was not connected to her subconscious. And in a session, she was very curious why this had occurred. And as she explored this conversation more with her client's subconscious, they said that the client had been born too quickly. Didn't make much sense to the practitioner. And so when we were conversing with this, she asked me if I had heard any of this before. And I hadn't ever considered that there were people born here who were not connected to their teams, who were not connected to their guides. In fact, that sounds like a horror movie. And I want to stop that and turn on to a comedy, because that blows my mind. Because that then pushes me to think, what if we're not all protected? What if we're not all safe? What if we're not all guided? What does that look like? How do they use their moral compasses? Anyway, roller coaster plus a roller coaster plus another roller coaster, and then a lot of emotions. And so I wanted to explore this more in a session. And as we discovered that if you want to use labels, and let's just use labels so I can get over not being worried with what I'm going to label this stuff as, was that the dark agenda, those who are wanting to disempower humanity, know that when you go into labor, it triggers your team into knowing that this merging of the body of the baby needs to be knitted into the soul. As we know, when you're carrying a baby and when we were growing in that womb, our souls were not connected constantly during that pregnancy. It was not needed. Can you imagine a very advanced being sitting there for 9 months while the mother is sitting there for 9 months, or waiting for the show to happen, for the child to be of service? Energetically, that child's soul is not merged in until it takes a breath, until it is physically born. And there is lots of sessions that we've done covering soul midwives and spiritual midwives. And this is a really important thing. And once those hormones are in the mother's body of her going into natural labor or even artificial labor, when there is an actual labor event that triggers the body, it alerts the guides and the teams, it is time to now focus and merge the soul and anchor the soul into the physical body. Very important. And this is why when we talk to the subconscious with clients who've had abortions or miscarriages, the soul comes into the session and say, that's absolutely okay. I was okay with that. That was what I wanted to experience. And that's all I needed for my soul's journey. Because often people who abort their children have so much guilt. that they love that child and they're constantly thinking about that child and sending energy to that child, which is that soul. And that's exactly what they wanted to feel always. We are so connected, even when we're not physically on this planet. We are always connected to all consciousnesses, regardless of whether we want to believe it or not. We truly are. And so when we keep thinking about someone or keep thinking about an experience that we have, we're bringing it back into our awareness. We're making those reconnections again. And this is why Dolores even said to me in a session, Joanne, don't focus on your past, because those negative past things will bring it right back to today. And this is why I think a lot of people don't want to do their inner work, is because they know if I start thinking about that rape or that torture or that abuse or that embarrassment or that shame, I'll bring it in and feel it and surround and marinate myself in it today. So no one wants to think about it, nor should we, if we're not going to do anything with it in terms of empowering ourselves to unpack it and see it from the bigger perspective, lesson and significance and purpose. And so Dolores was like, let go of the past. Doesn't serve you today. Learn from it, respect it. If you want to think about the past with nostalgia and memories of love and positivity, go for that. But don't keep picking at the past that is still hurting you, and definitely don't ignore it. Let's go back, embrace what we've been ignoring, love the situation, unpack the situation, overcome the situation, and learn from those lessons as fast as we can. Don't speed rush through it. Honor the journey and the unpacking of it. And so anyway, with discovering potentially millions of beings walking on this planet who are not connected to their souls because they had elective cesareans for their birth, which didn't connect them, they could have used their free will if they had ever prayed, if they'd ever asked. But most people are not aware that they have a subconscious, so they didn't kind of make those connections. This is why it's so important for us to trust that they're there and just say, give me a sign, guys. Today, I just really need to know that you are truly there, that this woman, Joanne's not just talking a whole lot of crap, and that you are here for me. And then ask. Don't say, sometimes people want, move this cat from this part of the room to that part of the room, and then I'll trust you. They're not magicians. They don't play these sort of silly games like that. And what they are capable of showing you may be something quite different from what you're expecting. So check your assumptions. And then I'll give you an example. They want me to give you an example of when I felt that I was pregnant with twins and we hadn't done the scan, and we had just had a late miscarriage. And then I fast forward a little bit of time, I'm pregnant and I get this strong sense that it's twins. And I didn't want to talk to my partner about it because, I didn't want to share my intuition. I didn't want my intuition to be mocked or belittled. And so I just kept it to myself, but I kept asking. This was very unusual for me because I didn't really sort of talk to my teams at that point. This is over, definitely almost 7 years ago now, give or take. Time, time's an illusion, so we're not going to get hung up on that today. So I kept asking. We were in Fiji, and I kept asking, show me a sign. Is this twins? Is this twins? And I want to see it up in the sky. Somehow I want to see confirmation that it's twins. And I haven't shared this. I haven't thought about this so long. So pardon. And so I just kept saying, I would like confirmation. I would like confirmation. I would like undeniable confirmation. And I kept asking that while I'm enjoying a holiday. And anyway, they're not, you can't instantly create this sort of stuff. They've got to figure out what is the most appropriate way. And so I was sort of thinking maybe it might be like cloud formations or something. I didn't know, but I just knew I wanted something so undeniable that I could just check in and know within myself that what my senses were is that I was pregnant with twins. And so we were just talking and we were going along our resort, and as we were turning the corner of a big, sort of like, it was a hedge, and there was just like a walkway, and we just turned into this walkway together, and we stopped suddenly because right in front of us were these two beautiful butterflies, and they were just dancing and flying right in front of us. And it was just so incredible. And they were just dancing in unison. And it was so incredible. And we just like gasped in awe. And I was like, I instantly knew this was the sign. This was the sign that I was asking for. And so it was just, it took so long too, because it was just so danceful, so graceful, and just so perfect. And we just stood there and watched them as they just got higher and higher and higher and higher. And then I knew it was for me. I knew that that was my sign. And you know, we'd never seen any of those butterflies ever in the entire time we were there. And we were on the golf course quite a lot as well, so we were in nature a lot, and it was incredible to see these beautiful butterflies in this dance, all happy and just fantastic. And I don't know why I'm sharing this, but it does work. If you ask your teams for guidance, if you ask your teams for confirmation, they will give it to you. But are you ready to look? And are you ready to trust that that is it? Because if I had still huge self-doubt, I'd be like, oh, that's just a coincidence. It wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. And so anyway, pardon me for my raw feelings. This week has been intensive, absolutely intensive. And as our girls, who are 5, now nearly 6 in a few months, as they are starting their schooling, I'm coming across some very interesting behaviors from the teachers and their own interpretations of how to respect our children. And one of them is changing their names. Changing their names. So the teachers think it's really fun, as I've discovered, talking to them, it's really fun for them to rebrand each child with their own personal names. And so they're adding on to the names. So it's a nickname, but they're using this to identify the child. Instead of acknowledging that the child's actual given name, they are rebranding the children into something else. And I feel like that is creating a new identity for the child. And it is interesting. And I'm in this real strong, challenging stance here. I just trust and dismissal as well and not get bothered with it? Or am I going to dip into 3D and write nearly a novel email to the teacher, telling her my opinions and thoughts of disconnecting children to self-identity, and why would that be necessary when the child has a very valid name? Why are they trying to rebrand a child's identity with himself? And also there's a whole lot of other interesting things that have been happening. They're really encouraging our children to not cry. And so Olive was assaulted by a child, and now she's got a big scratch on her face from being physically attacked by a child. And the teacher dismissed the event, saying that it was just play. First of all, it said that didn't happen, and then she just said it was play. And then it shut down Olive quite instantly, because she didn't want to, she couldn't trust the teacher to actually share what was happening, because the teacher was already controlling the situation. Now, I know children, I've got 3 little children here at home, and yeah, I know that they can be very expressive with their with their hands and their words as they're trying to navigate and emotionally connect with each other and try to get their points across and their views. And we have 2 great sharers and 1 not so great sharer, and so, you know, there is always negotiations here. But what the teacher did when Olive got this gouge in her face was dismiss the situation, disregard what Olive was feeling, and then celebrated Olive and praised her for not crying. Good that you didn't cry. Don't cry. Good that you don't cry. And so she didn't acknowledge what actually happened, didn't acknowledge Olive's feelings, but only celebrated that Olive was not crying. So for me, having done many, many, many sessions with people who are profoundly fantastic adults, but the biggest thing of the sticking points is when they were little and suppressed in one way or another, and that still then ripples out. And it creates problems now as adults. So I am trying so hard to be balanced with all of this, so hard. And I'm balancing between bigger picture stuff or, questioning and facing my fears and discussing my opinions and belief systems on teachers that are trying to say that this is empowering children. And so there's some conversations here, but as I'm very much aware, to get complete compliance, it starts off really small. And you may start having new names or new labels and a whole lot of other stuff. And it just starts off really sweet and innocent and just play and just, labeled a whole lot of other stuff. But from my perspective, from what I know and what the control systems are, and how much manipulation is put on all government systems, it is very interesting to see how they start the indoctrinations. You remove their actual given name and you give them a new nickname. You brand them yourself, and then you start doing all this other stuff, all in innocent fun. So anyway, my friends, it is interesting times. And as I know and recall back from my own childhood, part of the fun of having children yourself is that you get to relive your own childhood. And so I'm constantly checking in. Am I overreacting to something because it happened in my childhood, in my past, and I'm trying to defend and fight for justice for my own inner child, and I'm projecting a whole lot of crap onto my own children with fears and all this sort of stuff? I am trying to constantly see what is triggering me into my perception, into my reactions and all this sort of stuff. So, I'm trying the best I can to be honest with myself. And I just remember in my own childhood, God, sorry, this feels like a massive Dear Diary rant, doesn't it today? Sorry, hang on. I just did not share my feelings and thoughts with my teachers because I just did not see that they had any senses of who I was. And I don't feel like they really gave me sort of the time, and I didn't really trust them because I always felt like they were overlooking me. I felt quite invisible. And so I shut down and never shared any, never talked. And so it's very interesting. Am I sensitive to my children being suppressed and disempowered? Yeah, I think I am. And I think that I want to look at it more, and I want to discuss it more. Most people are afraid to talk to professionals because it's embarrassing, right? We're not a professional. Oh, what if they start critiquing my parenting, blah, 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 blah. I am not afraid and not ashamed, and I'm not hiding anything, and I have full transparency. And I'm not going to be coerced or shut up anymore, and certainly not censored. And so this is fun times for our family, and welcome for this verbal rant, because what they were wanting me to share today was also something else. So I'll just stop there, and thank you for listening to me on my journey. So we have this talking about other parents. You know, we always seem to find these incredibly incredible busy mothers, and this one in particular, she is you know, she's super thoughtful, and she loves all the festive things, and she's really, really generous, and you know, their birthday parties for their daughter is like really lavish, and basically little weddings each time, very impressive in some regards to how much they focus on the details of all these big events for their child, and that's all sweet, and you know, they get lots of joy from that, but it just sort of seems a little bit over the top sometimes. That's from my opinion, because there's more focus on sort of like the process versus just the kids having fun and celebrating the child. So, you know, I mean, sorry, it probably sounds really judgmental. But anyway, this person is constantly posting on Facebook how much she donates to charity, how they cut off their hair and donate it for wigs and a whole lot of stuff, and how many trees she's planted for New Zealand, and all this really good stuff that, you know, everyone should be doing to some extent. She messaged me yesterday to, you know, to catch up with me. And I sort of asked her if she's still loving the mandates. And she sort of said that she does like the mandates, because this is the new way of the world. And, you know, around the world, we've all got mandates. And I just sort of said, well, you know, that most, you know, quite a lot of places around the world in big countries are dropping the mandates now. And she wasn't aware of that, which is interesting. And they haven't vaccinated their child yet, but they will because they want to travel, which is interesting. And I asked if she'd had any reactions, or she'd heard of anyone that had any reactions to being inoculated, and she sort of said, oh yeah, just most had, but it was just a few days kind of thing, and all is well. And I sort of said to her that, you know, I'd spent some time with some incredible, amazing people who are really struggling with the mandates because they're not able to work, because they would love to comply, but it will literally kill them because they've got pre-existing blood clots, for example, or they've had massive health reactions to the first two or one, and they just want to get back to work. And that while it's fantastic that she loves the mandates, is she able to consider and have compassion for others who are not so fortunate to continually work and pay their mortgages and feel like they are welcome in society? And she was completely oblivious to other people's experiences. And I sent her a video of a mother of 4 talking about her serious health issue from the first vaccine, and how she's not able to get an exemption, and so she couldn't take her son to A&E, and she couldn't support him, and she had to keep going back to hospital many times, and she's got 4 little children, and she is not being felt or seen or heard or respected by our government. And this is just one of thousands of people who've got similar stories, who desperately want to work, who desperately want to feel of service, who desperately need to earn money to keep their mortgages going. And for this one woman who prides herself on donating so much and being a great humanitarian, that didn't faze her. In fact, she just sort of thought, wow, that sucks to be them. To have a conversation with someone about this, and it's not anti anything, it is just allowing and respecting people need another choice to be protected from the current situation. It's incredible when you talk to these people that you know are good humanitarians, but because it hasn't impacted them yet, and because they've still got their jobs, and because they believe that the scum of society doing violent protests in our capital, and have lost any sensibility to actually the purpose and the cause, I found sending a little video to this mother, to this beautiful, compassionate person who wants to honor this planet and look like a great Samaritan on Facebook. We just hope that these seeds are going to start growing consciousnesses of the awareness of what is happening for our country and all countries around the world. And I want to give my personal my personal love to those who went to Canberra last weekend, who are now suffering the consequences of sound weaponry. It's not very polite or kind, was it? And I just want to say that unfortunately, that was your darkness, that was your density. And now, because so many people have had those reactions, there is consequences which are now getting main attention. I understand it's not possible for 5 million people in Canberra to stay there until the mandates are dropped in your country. And I know that for most it was a one-day event. But because of what occurred in that one day, that has expanded out much more awareness that what your government would be doing to its citizens, which is dangerous weaponry and sound technology. I hope that when we ask in a metaphysical perspective, they say that that sound technology was a profound upgrade for those who haven't got them before. I want to hope all is well. I want to hope that the higher perspective is very fantastic, because I trust that those people who are there to be of service in that high frequency vibration in Canberra were well protected, and whatever needed to happen to them, just like what happened to those people in New Zealand, didn't kill you, it wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't nice, but that gives great example to the rest of the world what happened. And I'm sorry that you were part of that, but use that experience, own that you were a victim to that. And you know that children were involved there, and that everyone has got an energetic discombobulation within themselves from that event. So if you are going to Canberra this weekend again, ask for protection, trust that you are protected, and expand out your energy field, expand out your love, knowing that your government won't be able to do it again, but you're not allowing your governments to bully you and use these sort of tactics. Standing up now together in unity is really profound. And if you can't attend, we know that there are so many organizations that are honestly donating directly to the causes, to feed people, to support people. This is a huge movement. And of course, everyone needs to pitch in somehow, some way. And for those people who are refusing to leave their homes because it doesn't feel safe for them, I support that, and I can recognize that, and I can understand that. But the power of the internet is definitely going to be your armor of protection, and sharing a few amazing posts around the place without getting censored and without going to Facebook jail. Let's hope that you can get out the truth to those people who are not quite aware of things yet. Remembering we can still email each other and we can still talk to each other. And sometimes when people think that they know what these events are for, what these rallies are for, and what this protests are about, they're only hearing it from the mainstream media again. And we know that that's probably not the most reliable, honest source, since it is also part of a government fraction. Oh my goodness. Wonder if this video is going to be censored in itself, right? They don't like the truth very much. It sort of exposes them to look like they're almost bad people. And, they're not bad people. They're just playing the role of bad people. Or sorry, should I say they're not bad souls, but they are just able to keep that density, to teach us. Force us into connection, force us into sharing the bigger truths, force us to be able to show provable facts and information about their choices and how they've coerced and manipulated humanity in not the best empowering ways. Freedom of speech is in all constitutions. And the voice in our higher frequency is so powerful right now. Incredibly powerful. And I encourage all to find unity within their communities, if it is online or physical. you need this support from each other. It is great talk therapy. It's ironic now that all our conspiracy theories have been proven interesting times, and this is what the Grand Awakening is all about. This is crunch time. This is crunch time. So make a choice of how you're going to help humanity. You're all very powerful when you choose to be able to share your truth, whatever version of your truth is, asking your teams to protect you, asking your teams to empower you, all that stuff. Trust all is well. Okay, sorry, I feel like there was quite a few conversations squished into that, and I don't know if I've completed any of them in satisfaction. Definitely go back and listen to this raw sessions and conversations with Heaven on Earth, because there is so much information there. There is so much content there. And to hear all the things that have happened on this planet and what we perceive as history, and then the reality of what our history is very extraordinary. Trust all is well. Trust all is well. Thank you so much for listening to me, and for those other parents who are struggling with these agendas, and for everyone who is noticing that we're still being coerced into certain agendas that don't serve us. Empower yourselves, support each other, share with each other. I love you.